Story 1. Steve Jobs had a business plan, a team, and investors before he dropped out. Mark Zuckerberg dropped out from Harvard with a working product and investors. If my child has a business plan and investors already, sure, go ahead and drop out. Story 2. I would say, Steve Jobs had an alternative plan already in motion when he dropped out. Show me what you've got and we'll discuss it. You might just convince me. Story 3. Teach your kids that education is important. It doesn't matter whether it's college or not. Steve Jobs and Bill Gates both dropped out, but they didn't stop learning. That's what you need to emphasize. They dropped out because they were busy building the foundation of corporate empires, chasing their ideas, and creating businesses. College isn't necessary for most people, especially not for those highly motivated entrepreneurs. Story 4. I would ask what their career aspirations are and what their actionable steps are to achieve that goal. College isn't for everyone, but they need to have a plan for what they're doing otherwise. Are they an artist? Do they want to go into the trades? Are there relevant certifications outside of a college degree they want to work on? They need to at least be working. Forcing teens to go to college and commit to all of that debt without a plan is so damaging, so I don't understand dragging them off to college just because. Story 5. My kids are too young to make these arguments, but hypothetically, my answer would be around probabilities. You can be successful without a college degree, and you can be a failure with one. I am not going into definitions of success and failure here, but the probability of success goes up with a degree, etc. If it is the right choice for my kids, I would also support them in not going to college. Story 6. 1. What business idea or skill are you working on now that will not require college and offer you financial stability? 2. Steve Jobs was an anomaly in a very specific spot at the exact right moment with the right team, which is rare. 3. He also made the ultimate worst decision possible when it came to his own life, so take everything with a grain of salt. Story 7. Steve Jobs dropped out of college but continued to take classes there. He just didn't enjoy the constraints regarding which classes he was required to take. Reed College tolerated this behavior, whether they would have done that for anyone else at that time or for anyone attempting something similar today. It's worth noting that at many larger colleges, you could casually attend large lecture hall classes where attendance isn't taken, and no one would even notice. Most college dropouts do not think or act in this manner. Story 8. As someone whose parents forced him to go to college, I wish they hadn't. I wasted a year of my life and their money working toward a degree that got changed because I didn't know what I wanted to do. College isn't for everyone. Story 9. Not my kids, but I've said to students and a sibling, I've said, referencing Mark Zuckerberg, he dropped out of Harvard. Not just college. Jobs, Zuckerberg, Gates, etc. didn't drop out because it was too hard or so they could slack. They dropped out to form now billion-dollar companies. Story 10. Let's look at the Forbes richest 20 people in America. Brendan. Elon Musk, Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Science from Pennsylvania. Jeff Bezos, Bachelor of Science in Engineering from Princeton. Larry Ellison, attended, but did not complete, degrees at University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign and University of Chicago. Warren Buffett, Bachelor of Science and Master of Science from Pennsylvania, University of Nebraska-Lincoln, and Columbia. Larry Page, Bachelor of Science in Engineering from Michigan, Master of Science from Stanford. Bill Gates, attended but did not complete, degree at Harvard. Sergey Brin, Bachelor of Science from University of Maryland, Master of Science from Stanford. These are the most extraordinarily wealthy people in the US. So, they're outliers themselves with amazing levels of talent, drive, and luck. Even still, the people on this list went to college. Even the people who didn't graduate in this list went to college, because it exposed them to people and ideas that helped them build their businesses. Either that or they inherited their massive wealth, the Waltons, the Marses. And you're not inheriting any massive wealth from us, Brendan. The average salary for someone with a high school diploma is $40,000 per year. The average salary for someone with a college degree is $68,000 per year. That means, on average, a person with a high school diploma will earn $2.401 million, working until age 67. A A person with a college degree will earn $3.06 million, with the high schooler starting to work at age 18 and the college student working at 22. If your career aspirations don't require a college degree, we'll support you going to community college, getting a certificate in a trade, or getting business or entrepreneurship experience. But your odds are just better if you go. And, it's not a bad experience either. Story 11, cool, I would say. Alternatives exist. I won't pressure you into spending a fortune on a degree you don't want to pursue. What piques your curiosity? What actions are you considering taking? Story 12, so was Bill Gates. So bring me your business plan and let's see if you have legitimate ideas for following a harder, rarer path, or just want to avoid more education. Are you considering a trade instead? It is good to consider the value of something as expensive, money, and time-wise as college, especially if you are taking out loans. But don't think the odds favor you duplicating what Gates or Jobs did. They are a few in billions. Story 13, too long. Didn't read. I think it's important to emphasize that you should have a plan. Whether someone wants to go into a trade, attend university, college, start their own business, work, or anything else, they should have a plan with goals. Steve Jobs definitely had a plan. It's also totally okay if your plan doesn't work out. In fact, reassure them that most people's plans don't work out. That's still kind of part of life's plan sometimes. If you do something and find out you don't like doing it at an early age, that's great. Move on to the next thing while you're young. The unfortunate reality is that you become a completely different person throughout your 20s, and you shouldn't feel too obligated to stick to something you decided when you were 18. Story 14, my 13-year-old already asked me about it. I told her, if you really want to go, do it, but remember that college isn't necessarily for everyone. You still have a couple of years to sit on the idea. I personally don't care if she does or doesn't go. But if she doesn't go, then she's going to enter the workforce as soon as possible. She can live at home as long as she likes, but if there's no schooling going on, it's going to be work. My parents didn't raise me to be a freeloader, and I'm not raising her or her brother to be freeloaders either. Story 15. For every 1,000 dropouts, how many Steve Jobs are there? But I wouldn't force them to go if they didn't want to. It would be a waste of money if they don't actually take it seriously. Even working a minimum wage job is better than going into massive debt and flunking and working minimum wage dead-end jobs. Story 16. My kids were never forced to go to college as long as they found a different purpose. My son currently works a decent paying job but is planning to go back to school soon. He's 19. It's his choice. My daughter, 25, ended up at cosmetology school because a regular college wasn't her vibe. She makes good money. College isn't for everyone. I didn't go either, so why would I force it on my own? Now, if one of my kids used Steve Jobs as their reasoning, I'd question their logic and ask them to provide actual reasons they don't want to attend college. But to be fair, my kids wouldn't be asked why in the first place. I would just ask, what are you going to do instead? Story 17. Well, if the kid is serious about becoming a billionaire and starting a revolutionary company, then maybe it's something to think about. But until then, let them at least finish high school first. Story 18. I would say that's cool. There are other options. I am not going to force you to waste a ton of money on a degree you do not want. What are you interested in? What are you thinking about doing? Story 19. So are gas station attendants, landscapers, infantrymen in the army. The only reason the big billionaires who talk a lot about dropping out of college did so was because they personally didn't need what it was teaching them. Can you honestly say that for whatever your plan in life is, you understand your desired field enough to just disregard 6 months to 6 years worth of courses and still be successful? Story 20. If you don't want to go to college right now, that's okay, and I will love and support you no matter what. That being said, what is your plan for the next year? Story 21. I can't speak much on Steve Jobs. When growing up, it was Bill Gates who was the college dropout. My answer to that was, well, Bill Gates got into Harvard. You couldn't pass a class from a college that's not Harvard. And I add, Harvard has a policy that you can return anytime. Most colleges don't. You get several months to 1 year, and then it's pay money and reapply and see. Story 22. Don't go if you don't want to, but find a job. Figure yourself out. It's a waste of money to be where you don't want to be, and I wouldn't want you to spend your life doing something you hate because we forced you to go to college before you had a plan. Story 23. It depends entirely on the context. Are they looking into programs that are worth paying for compared to their expected income, like becoming a registered nurse or a certified public accountant? Or do they want to major in communications at a mid-tier private liberal arts school with a $60,000 per year tuition? You have to steer the conversation based on that. The truth is that some degrees are always valuable and some really aren't. I would go so far as to argue that the degree doesn't usually matter unless you have letters after your name. And even then, it sometimes doesn't. Story 24. Steve Jobs went to college. He only dropped out because his business was taking off. That applies to most of the college dropouts, and they often drop out of a master's degree having completed a graduate degree. His choice was to get his business to be so successful that he could afford to drop out or stay in college. Story 25. College is not for everyone. I really wish high school would push technology schools and skilled labor more than taking out student loans and going to big-name universities. Don't get me wrong. There are multiple jobs that require a degree, but what 16 or 17-year-old knows what they want to do with the rest of their lives? I sure didn't. Blue-collar workers are seriously underestimated and can easily pull in over 6 figures a year. If you have a skill and are good at it, statistically, you will never go without a job. I think taking a year off between high school and college is healthy. I personally took a year off, worked hard to get into nursing school, only to drop out because of financial reasons. As a college dropout, I was still able to become successful and financially stable, strictly through hard work and determination. Story 26. And that is why you need to stay in college, if for no other reason, to learn that Steve Wozniak was the actual brains of the outfit, and that Jobs was just a self-involved hype man who fell for pseudoscientific nonsense which led him to reject medical treatment for a curable cancer until the point it was no longer treatable. In short, the man was an idiot. Story 27. He is right, but if he does not study at the university, he will have to study on his own, being totally self-taught. There will be no one to keep telling him to study to be somebody. He will only achieve what he is capable of achieving by self-pressure. Story 28. I would respond with, that's true, but Steve Jobs is an exception. For most people, college provides important skills, experiences, and networking opportunities. It is one path among many, and we should explore what is best for you and your goals. Story 29. They do not have to go to college if they are going to start providing for themselves. But if I offer to pay for college, then I would rather they take that opportunity. The worst case for them is that they flunk out, but financially there is no loss. It would ruin their GPA if they returned later, though. Most kids say they do not want to go to college because of financial reasons, not because I do not feel like it. Story 30. Depends on what they are doing. If they are trying to do a trade or get out early in the workforce, I wouldn't really bat an eye. If they are saying it to justify lazy behavior and being a freeloader, then I'd be inclined to remind them that sitting on their behind and not doing anything won't magically bring the next big thing into existence. Story 31. I mean, my kids are under 10, but I would ask them why they don't want to go to college. If it's because they aren't sure what they want to be, I'd empathize with them and say that struggling with identity is hard, and deciding what you want from your future is harder. I'd align with their thoughts and tell them they're unsure of the steps they want to take in life. I'd then offer them solutions, as in, I hope I'll be acutely aware of what their interests are in life, or at least what their concerns are. I'd point out that there are other options other than college. For example, trade school is a fantastic option, and going the route of a journeyman is a viable path that will offer them stability in the future. Finally, I just appeal to their humanity and the people they've become. I tell them that my entire life has been centered around ensuring that they have a better life than what I had. I dropped out of college and think about that choice every day. But all roads I've taken led to them, and I don't ever regret that. And in the end, whatever they decide, I'll support them as long as they continue to have conversations with me and we work together to get them set up for success in the future. So basically, I just talk to them how I was never talked to when growing up. I've made mistakes, but it's worked pretty well for me so far. Story 32. Ask them what their alternative plan is. Begin discussing what skill set they have. Does their future actually need a degree? If they are not naturally curious and can't handle setbacks, then it might be a good idea to follow a traditional educational route. One thing that is guaranteed is that there will be a lot of failure in their pursuits. If this child is fine with working terrible jobs while focusing on their dream with an unwavering passion, then I don't see a problem. Story 33. Just depends on the child. College isn't the right path for everyone. Listen to them and find out what they are passionate about and what they want to do, then build the path around that.